This is not the end of the song. It's just where we are in it right now, still going, which is the entire point of having chosen the evergreen kind, calibrated kind that doesn't need an occasion to keep being exactly what it is. Not finished, not arriving at anything in particular, just still going, which is what still going actually feels like from the inside. Not tired of it, no drama, no climax, no resolution required, just still going together and finding that to be more than enough, considerably more than enough every time. Someone will ask how long, and I'll say still, which is the most accurate answer and also the most satisfying one available. Still is both the current status and the complete forward plan. Not tired of it, no drama, no climax, no resolution required, just still going together and finding that to be more than enough, considerably more than enough every time. Compound interest, the quiet flex, the steady signal, the right temperature, all of it still running, still receiving, still going, and that is the whole incomplete report. The whole I wasn't doing it, hadn't been for a while, already here, had been for some time, without marking it, without requiring a ceremony. Not a destination reached with appropriate fanfare, a realization that the arriving happened quietly while everything else was going on. Just looked around and recognized it, the frequency, the temperature, the specific weight of the silence we built over time. Already here, already home. This is it. This is it. Home isn't immediate, it's a place you keep coming back to until one day you realize you stopped working out how long it takes to get there, because you're already there and have been stopped calculating, which is precisely how you know. Just looked around and recognized it, the frequency, the temperature, the specific weight of the silence we built over time. Already here, self-sustained indefinitely without requiring a resolution to justify its existence. No dramatic arc required, no before and after, just the frequency of two people who decided to stay and kept deciding and kept staying. This is the thing that doesn't end because it doesn't need to. No climax coming, no tidy wrap, no resolution required, just the continuing, which is, as it turns out, the whole point. Dressed up as ordinary life, wearing ordinary clothes in an ordinary room on an ordinary evening. That is everything. A story that doesn't build to a reveal, just continues the way an ordinary evening continues, into the long way home, into the silence, into the temperature of a room you stop noticing because it's right, and right has no weather. The point is the continuing extraordinary, wearing the clothes of ordinary every single time. This is the thing that doesn't end because it doesn't need to. No climax coming, no tidy wrap, no resolution required, just the continuing, which is, as it turns out, the whole point. Dressed up as ordinary life, wearing ordinary clothes in an ordinary room on an ordinary evening. That is everything. The best things don't end, they continue into the ordinary evening, into the long way home, into the silence we built, into the temperature of this room, into this, specifically this, which is all of it. Consistency, nobody lets you in their eyes what they want, and then they find it in something real and realize it was the only item on the list that ever actually mattered. Not boring, reliable, which is different in the same way that air is different from the absence of air. Shows up the same way every time, same frequency, same temperature, same. And I built my actual life on that fact, which is not a small thing to build a life on. You show up same everything, and it's not because nothing changes. It's because the thing underneath the thing that matters doesn't and never has. Variable on the surface, constant at the core. That's the architecture of the thing that actually holds. Shows up the same way every time, same frequency, same temperature, same. And I built my actual life on that fact, which is not a small thing to build a life on. Someone told me once boring was the enemy. I think they meant predictable, and they were wrong about that as well. Consistency is not boring. Consistency is the infrastructure of everything worth having. Full stop. Which is the entire deal with horizons. We keep moving toward it. It keeps staying ahead. Frustrated me until I understood should be. Exactly where it should be. Still moving. I used to believe the dramatic thing was the real. Still move. The intensity, the weather, the whole cinematic scene. Now I understand the scene was obscuring the view of the actual thing, which is quiet and certain and has never once required an audience to keep going. The dramatic thing has a half-life. I have observed this repeatedly in the field, already proven what we are to ourselves. No audience needed, no documentation, no occasion, no proof required by anyone outside this room. The thing does what it does, night after ordinary night, without announcement. I used to perform, even privately, even when no one was watching. Out of reflex, out of armor I've been wearing so long, I'd forgotten I had it on. Stop doing that in this particular frequency, without noticing the moment until it was completely gone. The absence of performance left room for everything else, and everything else turns out to be considerable. Already proven we are to ourselves. No audience needed, no documentation, no occasion, no proof required by anyone outside this room. The thing does what it does, night after ordinary night, without announcement. Surviving the dramatic thing is how you arrive at the certain thing, and the certain thing doesn't need the drama to know it's real. No drama required is the highest compliment. I know how to give, and I give it without reservation. Without reservation. Choose the longer road, the one where the conversation lives highest. The one that costs 20 minutes and returns everything. Not inefficient investing in the length of the evening is an investment that compounds over time. I have checked the maths, because the direct route doesn't have this in it. Specifically this version of the conversation, this specific quality of a night that isn't in a hurry to be anything other than exactly what it is. We take the long way on everything, the long conversation, the long quiet, the long evening that becomes the long year, that becomes the thing you can't explain but wouldn't trade. Not avoiding the destination, extending the journey, which is completely different and is, if I'm honest, the whole skill. Because the direct route doesn't have this in it. Specifically this version of the conversation, this specific quality of a night that isn't in a hurry to be anything other than exactly what not a decision, just who you are. Just who you are. I know. Not the big deposit, never was. The daily small ones, the long way home. The coffee order, the correct sequence of the correct things, compounding without noticing, until one day the returns of something extraordinary, wearing the clothes of something ordinary. Not dramatic, mathematical, the maths of small consistent choices, arriving at something nobody expected to add up to this size. Every ordinary evening, every ritual, every long way home, paying into something we couldn't see from the starting point, and are only now beginning to understand the full size of. I wasn't investing, I was just showing up. Turns out showing up every single time without exception is the highest yield available, and nobody hands you that information at the beginning. The returns arrive without announcement, extraordinary from all the ordinary, compounded over sufficient time. That's the entire formula. Every ordinary evening, every ritual, every long way home, paying into something we couldn't see from the starting point, and are only now beginning to understand the full size of. The long game pays in ways the short game cannot access. We have been playing the long game, and it turns out we are extremely good at it. Extremely long connection detonates slowly. Over years you feel it everywhere. Before you know what to call it, or whether calling it would even add anything. Coffee in the specific order of the specific things at the specific time. Nobody drew this up, nobody agreed to it. We just did it and kept doing it until doing it became the only correct way. This goes. Routine, not habit. The difference is that we notice every single time and still choose it. Every single time. The ordinary made deliberate by choosing it together, without explanation, without instruction, without once thinking twice. That's what makes it what it is. What it is. We've run this sequence enough times that it operates without a manual. Like a song you stopped needing the sheet and music 4 years ago, but still play with complete accuracy, not boring, fluent, which I will fight anyone who conflates those two things. The ordinary made deliberate by choosing it together, without explanation, without instruction, without once thinking twice. That's what makes it what it is. To me, doing it means everything. Let's be precise. This is not optimism. Optimism is hoping the glass is half full. This is accuracy. The glass is genuinely half full of something I chose with full information and zero delusion. There is a significant gap between naive and informed. I am standing firmly in the second one. The quiet satisfaction of having picked correctly. No ceremony required, no announcement, just the glass. The evening, the completely accurate thing. People ask if we're happy. I say we're accurate, which is better than happy. Which is what happy actually becomes when it's had long enough to know what it is. result. Accurate, 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 inaccurate, and entirely glad of it. Having nothing to say. The one is just empty. The other kind, the one that takes actual time to earn, the one that holds everything already said without needing to say it again. Built it brick by brick until quiet became its own complete language. It has weight now, it has warmth. It is not the absence of something, it is something specific and entirely ours. Entirely ours. People feel silence because it scares them. We do sometimes too, but we don't have to. The option of not having to is the thing we spent years constructing, and it was worth every minute. Presence without sound is its own fluency, and we are both completely fluent. It has weight now, it has warmth. It is not the absence of something, it is something specific and entirely ours. Take everything, uncomfortable silence being the highest form of the whole thing. I have the evidence right here in this room right now. I'm extremely confident. Extremely confident. Just the specific quality of an evening that has nowhere to be and is completely at peace with that. Here's what I know now that I didn't before. The unremarkable evening is the prize, the whole thing you were working toward. Nothing to celebrate, nowhere to be, no occasion, no performance, no audience, just us getting quietly extraordinarily good at the ordinary. I've had the peak moments, the ones worth the story, the ones that photograph well, and I trade a handful of them for another one exactly like this, without hesitating, without a second thought, not settling, arriving at something considerably better than what I thought I was looking for. Nothing to celebrate, nowhere to be, no occasion, no performance, no audience, just us getting quietly extraordinary. attention over a long time and adjusted accordingly. That's the whole story. Precision without effort is just what effort looks like from the outside. No guessing, no second guessing, no checking if this is still right. We know the settings, we set them ourselves, and they run exactly as intended. I know your timing, you know mine, no manual required. We wrote the manual by being here long enough that it became unnecessary. Doesn't look like work from the outside, that's because the work was done. No guessing, no second guessing, no checking if this is still right. We know the settings, we set them ourselves, and they run exactly as intended. Call it ordinary, go ahead, I'll wait while you try to find something ordinary that runs this well, this quietly, this long. This long. Still running, still running, still running. Still running. No, not the heat of something that burns fast and leaves you with nothing but the memory of being warm. Not the cold of something that promised warmth and delivered a very convincing approximation of it. The third thing that doesn't have a dramatic name because it doesn't require one. Accurate is the word, not comfortable, not happy. Accurate, the climate of two people who figured it out. Not a negotiation, not a performance, not trying anymore, just right, just accurate, just this every time. Every time. I've been cold, I've been scalded, I have very clear data on what neither of those feels like to live inside. This is what you stop noticing because it's exactly correct, and exactly correct has no weather worth complaining about. The temperature of a room you only notice when you step outside it and feel every other room in comparison, and realize nothing else has ever been right. Every other room, every other room in comparison. High volume lives below where most people bother to tune. You have to want to go that low, most people don't. The body knows before the mind. The body always knows first. In the bass and the bones, not an announcement, not a signal flare, just the thing sitting heavy and patient and completely unmoved by your opinion of it. Everyone's chasing the dramatic frequency, the climax, the obvious peak. We found the thing that lives underneath all of that, and it turns out that's where everything real actually is. In the bass and the bones, not an announcement, not a signal flare, just the thing sitting heavy and patient and completely unmoved by your opinion of it. Low and true, two words, that is the entire description. I don't have anything to add. That's it. That's the whole thing. Not the crash, not the obvious arrival, not the thing that introduces itself at volume, the one running underneath you didn't clock until you did and then couldn't unclock. Been there the whole time, been there the whole time, cleaner than anything I've dialed into before. No static, no performance, no needing to prove. It doesn't drop, it just doesn't drop. I've been in rooms full of noise. I know what static actually feels like. Living in it, this is the opposite. This runs quiet and clear and shows no signs of stopping. Cleaner than anything I've dialed into before. No static, no performance, no needing to prove. It doesn't drop, it just doesn't drop. The best transmission never announces itself. You just look up one day and realize you've been receiving for longer than you thought, and you're not even a little bit sorry about it. Not sorry, not even close. Not the hard parts, not the nights that didn't feel like anything, not the recalibration, not the part where I had to learn the thing, the difficult way before I was ready to learn it. All of it was required to arrive rose-tinted accurate. No notes is a precise statement, not a performance of contentment. Reviewed the whole thing, start to current. Took my time with it, was rigorous, was honest. Have no notes, not one edit, not one thing I would do differently. People ask about regrets. I have some about entirely other things. Not this, not one line of this, not one evening of this would I remove or change or do at a different speed. The audacity of no notes on something this long is earned, not performed, and I know the difference. Review the whole thing, start to current. Took my time with it, was rigorous, was honest. Have no notes, not one edit, not one thing I would do differently. I'll say it without hedging, without lowering my voice, without the asterisk. No notes, full stop. That is the complete and accurate review. Full stop. Complete and accurate. Didn't ask already, know the slight shift in the shoulder, the specific pause before the word that means you've decided. And you're just working out whether to say it or let me figure it out myself. Not mind reading mileage, which is significantly better. I was already there before you started, already holding what you hadn't finished forming. Been in your frequency long enough that the gap between your thought and my receipt is essentially zero. Zero. You started the sentence, I finished it. Not because I'm gifted, because I've been paying close attention since before we started keeping count. And the returns are extraordinary. Sustained attention is its own superpower. The payoff is arriving before the question with the answer already won. I was already there before you started, already holding what you hadn't finished forming. Been in your frequency long enough that the gap between your thought and my receipt is essentially zero. The quiet the slightest apology. Fire is lovely, genuinely. I have nothing against fire. You cannot have a very good evening by fire. You cannot build a long thing on fire. Comfortable has a long game that fire simply does not have access to. Not extinguished, evolved into something that burns longer, burns cleaner, goes considerably further. The final form of something that started as fire and grew. The kind of spine that fire never could. That's what comfortable is. And I use the word without the slightest apology. Reclaim it out loud. Comfortable, the word for someone who has been in the loud thing, looked at it clearly and chose this with full information. Full information. No audience, no version of this apology that asks anything of either of us. Just the actual situation, which is enough, which is considerably more than enough. As it turns out, left the performance at the door along with everything else that has no business being in this room. The relief is enormous. You'd think it would shrink with time. It gets larger every single time. The room with no performance in it is the most luxurious room I have ever been in. I have performed in rooms for nobody, out of sheer habit, out of armor. I didn't know I was still wearing. You quietly removed the dress code, and something I didn't know was clenched, let go completely. The absence of performance is not emptiness, it is everything else finally in the correct proportion. The relief is enormous. You'd think it would shrink with time. It gets larger every single time. The room with no performance in it is the most luxurious room I have ever been in. The most decadent evening is one where nobody needs impressing, including myself. That is the bar, we clear it with complete ease every time. Complete ease every time. Revelation, fighting to change. Just looked up one day and the thing was already done. Had been for a while. I was just the last to file the paperwork. Not a decision, a recognition of something that finished. While I was busy with something else, the answer was settled before the question formed. Already in it, already certain, already yours. Didn't ask me, didn't consult me, ahead and was true. The long frequency doesn't announce, it just becomes the baseline until silence starts sounding genuinely different than it used to. Not an arrival, a realization that you've been there considerably longer than you thought. The answer was settled before the question formed. Already in it, already certain, already yours. Didn't ask me, didn't consult me, just went ahead and was true. Some things don't need a beginning, they just need someone to notice they're already running at full speed in the right direction without a single thing wrong. Already running, nothing wrong. Version for anyone in any room except this one. Just living it, which is the most significant flex available, and also the only one worth doing. The loudest thing in the room doesn't make a sound. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Unverifiable from the outside, completely unconfirmable, not postable, not provable, and that is exactly the design. The whole point was always the whole point. I could explain it, but you'd have to feel it to understand it. And if you felt it, you wouldn't need the explanation. That's the flex right there. You recognize it or you don't. Every loud thing is attempting to be this quiet thing, getting it wrong in the most visible way possible. Unverifiable from the outside, completely unconfirmable, not ghostable, not provable, and that is exactly the design. The whole point was always the whole point. We got it right without trying, without announcing it. The only kind of right that actually counts, the only kind worth having. Don't need the grand gesture, the anniversary dinner, the visible proof, the thing that performs as the thing. Have the thing, the actual thing, which does not photograph and has never once needed to. Unverifiable from the outside, which is entirely the point and precisely the design. You cannot fake the absence of performance. You cannot stage what happens when nobody piece to prove. The decisions thing is genuinely beautiful. I have nothing against it. The drama, the season, the fall, we're the other kind, the kind that doesn't change color on a schedule, that doesn't need a particular season to know what it is. Not unchanging, not static, the color just doesn't depend on the weather. And there's a significant difference between those two things. In the middle of winter, still exactly what we were in any other season. No performance required, no adjustment necessary. That's the kind worth choosing, and I knew that early. Knew it from the frequency that didn't drop, from the signal that ran clear, from the calibrated thing that operated without requiring any particular season to be what it was, not hoped, knew, and the evidence kept arriving season after season to confirm what I already knew. In the middle of winter, still exactly what we were in any other season. No performance required, no adjustment necessary. That's the kind worth choosing, and I knew that early. Choose the evergreen thing, stay in it through every season. That is the instruction manual in its entirety. Two requirements, both of which we meet without trying. Both of which without